Okay, welcome back everyone. Hopefully you people are already very clear, very thorough with our previous discussions. That is single inheritance in public mode, single inheritance in private mode. The last discussion that was about multi-level inheritance. There would be one super parent class, child class and super child class. That was, kind of a diagram. Today we are here and we are about to discuss one more category of inheritance that is referred as multiple inheritance. You can see the diagram. Fine, it is right given there. If you just take a look at the bottom part of the screen, you can see multiple parent class. There are more than one parent class who are going to be jumbled into one single child class. As you can see, two parent class M and N both are passing on the properties into class P. Alright, so hopefully the basics are very clear to you. Along with that, you of course require the table. Let me give you the table, right? We have our own method for keeping the track of each and every variable, each and every functions moving from and moving from. Fine, moving from and moving forth. All right. So in order to get a complete list, first of all, you have to go for the diagram. You people are now very clear. Both two parent classes are getting together into one child class. Right after that, we will be start making the list. Once again, let me remind you all, list must be very precise and very quick. The only purpose of updating the list or making the list is to keep track of all the variables and functions moving from and moving forth. Alright? So everyone, let's get started. So you can see in the coding there are three different classes: class M, parent class, class N, another parent class. Both the class are going to be combined into class P. Alright, once again, if you observe the receiving mode for the child class, that is class P, a child class is receiving the properties from the parent class and storing those properties in the public section. So that is very clear to you. Alright, whenever you are having any confusions, you can still refer this table. Fine, it will be always there. Once again, base class visibility modes have been already defined in the table. Receiving child class, different variations, different options are given to you in column wise. Okay, so let's get started with the list. Okay, so let me give the title of the list, that is first parent class named M, some different symbols so that we can understand that is the name of the class. Under that, we have to list out the properties. First one, we have one variable called M. Next to that, change of mode. Now we are going to be moving into public part, one particular function with argument, but we are not going to mention anything else, right? We just need to keep track of data and functions, that's it. And this list, this short precise list will suffice the requirement. So that is all about first parent class M. Move on to the second parent class, name it N. Now regarding the class N, open the class, open the list. Okay, let's not forget the caps and smalls. Okay, so for the second parent class N, we are having another variables small n. See, once again, the language is case sensitive. That means caps and smalls will be having different meanings. Okay, so in the public section, if you just see, we are having function get n. We are making the list from the program. Okay, so let us list out the function get n. Okay, so that is the end of the list. Now is the magic part. Now is the core part of our list. Okay, for the class P, fine, I have just named opening of the class. There is class P. Inside that, what do you see there? Nothing else other than one function defined in the public section, that is display. And the list is complete, only the visible part. Everyone, now focus about the first parent class. See everyone, right over here, it is trying to receive, it is trying to derive the properties from the first parent class, that is M. That means we are supposed to insert the content from this M part and add it into the P part. Okay, so let me put some symbol there so that we can easily identify, easily differentiate which is the property derived from which particular class. Okay, if you observe the table now, if you refer the table, base class protected, see the row, everyone, this is the part you are supposed to see. Fine, base class versions, base class options, that is protected, and the child class receiving mode, that is public. So where exactly these two lines are intersecting, the protected of base class and child class section is public. So the protected, that means child class will receiving the properties and store the properties into the protected part. I hope this part is not making you confused. All right, keep referring the table that is already there. Okay, so first of all we are going to list out simply protected part. Now the change of the visibility mode, base class public, child class public, where exactly they are intersecting? Oh, right there in the public part. So you can put the public there, and that is how it is going to be done, nothing else other than this. Okay, now we are supposed to refer one more parent class because we are having two parent classes. So now the turn is of second parent class. So this part, the entire content of the list should be added into the list of the child class. Okay, so there is one more symbol so that you can easily identify the properties. So now whatever the properties we are going to list out will be from class N. Okay, once again refer the table, follow the table, base class protected, child class public. Okay, see, I'm talking about exactly here, base class protected and child class public, they are intersecting right here in the protected part. So you can do exactly like this. Next part, public, we have something in the public. So base class public and child class visibility is public. So public and public, where exactly they are meeting? Of course in the public part. So let me write there public, and let us list out the functions. So that is going to be the entire total list, available data, available functions to P. Okay, that will be the whole list. Now let me remind you two rules. Rule number one, object belonging to the same list. Okay, whenever you create an object, you are supposed to refer the list of the same class. That means object of the class and the list of the class both must be very same, exactly same. And number two, whenever you try to make a call to either data or function, it has to be, public. If these two conditions are true, if these two conditions are okay, then and then the statement from main function will be okay. Otherwise it will not get executed, the compiler will produce an error and you will be stuck somewhere there. Okay, so let us go for the main part, main function of the program. Okay, so main function, what exactly we are going to do in the main part? We will be creating the object, that is the use of the class. Okay, so we have created an object named small p. Capital P is the class name, small p is the object name. Okay, now we have created an object. Okay, now this object will start making calls to different functions. Now let us see, execute both the rules. Rule number one, object and list. Fine, object is of class P. Once again you are supposed to refer the list of the same class. Okay, can you see function getM over there in the list somewhere? Okay, you can spot it there right here. So rule number one, that's true. Okay, rule number two, is it public? That is also okay. That means you can go execute the definition, directly jump to the definition, execute the definition. That means we are going to pass this value 10. This value 10 will be stored into X for a while temporarily, and later on move on to M. So M variable of P, small p object is now initialized. Okay, next line, what do we have next? Get N. Once again same class list must be referred. Can you spot get N function there? Yes, it is there, it is here. All right, found the function. Rule number two, is it public? Once again second condition, that is also true. Go there, jump to the definition and execute the definition, there is no problem. Okay, so once again the same practice, 20 will be stored temporarily into x, and from x the value will be moved to variable n. Okay, finally we have a function called display. Once again, two rules, same list. Do we have display in the same list? Yes, of course it is there. Rule number 2, display. Is it public? Okay, go there and execute the definition. Okay, now we are here inside the definition of display. What does it mean? It means now we are inside the list. We are inside this list. Okay, that means display, this function, this can access everything that is highlighted, because a property from the list can access another property from the same list. That is a rule, and you need to remember that. Okay, so that is very easy. That means the function display can access everything listed out here. There is no problem with that. So out of these properties, these functions and variables, it is trying to access two particular variables. M, is it there in the same list? Yes. And is it there in the same list? Yes. So there is no problem. It can of course access M and N, just print them, and later on it definitely can print the multiplication of those two variables. So that is very clear, very easy for you. Okay, it is, you know, like a child's play. If you are comfortable up to here, let me give you one more variation of the same program. That means variation in multiple inheritance. What if there are multiple data or multiple functions of the same name? Out of the curiosity, you definitely can ask that. Okay, but I have already solution for that. Before you ask, let me give you the solution. Okay, and where exactly will be the solution? Yep. Okay, so that is going to be the code, and this is the space for making a list. Only after making a list we can definitely sort out the things. Fine, what do we have actually, where exactly the things are moving from and towards. Okay, if we just take a look at the code, nothing is changed. That means we have one parent class M, another parent class N. Both parent class are getting together into another class, child class P. Of course, child class is receiving the properties and storing them into the public part. Okay, the only confusing part about this code is the display function. Each and every class, see everyone over here, let me show you something here. Fine, you have the diagram, you have the hierarchy in this manner, M, N and P. They are all the three classes, and all the three classes are having function with the same name. So what exactly is going to happen? Will the compiler generate any errors, or will it be specific? Let us go find out. But first, the list. Okay, let's get started from the first parent class, that is M. Inside that class we have display function, nothing else. Display, but where exactly? Don't forget the visibility mode. It may leave you confused if you forget. Okay, the next part. Okay, the next part, there is another parent class, there is N. Okay, the second parent class, let's list it out also. What do we have there? Okay, you can see, yep, in the public section, display. That's it. Okay, then the child class P. What about that? What is the visible code? The visible code, it says you just one particular function, display. Okay, now we are supposed to do something concerning these two parent class. That means child class, for this particular list, for the list of the child class, we are supposed to add the properties from M, we are supposed to add the properties from N. And if we just take a look at the properties, public display, that means we are helpless. But first parent class, public and public, that means of course function display, but that is from class M. Another thing, public function display, but this part, the last part, that is from class N. Okay, so now we have everything mixed up. If you create an object of this class, fortunately, eventually we know one particular thing. We are going to create an object of the class which is laying at the bottom of the diagram. So just take a look at the bottom of the diagram. you'll find class P. That means if we try to make a diagram of P, which we will, it will, you know, give you some sort of confusion which particular display has to be called. So there is one rule. Let me be clear with the rule. A rule is class object. First of all, we have the class definition. Then whenever we execute that definition, we'll be getting an object. An object by default will run the properties of the same class by default. So I have cleared out the confusion. We have 3 different classes, that is true, but out of these 3 different classes, we are going to create the object from the class P. Fine. We have the object from class P, child class object, and what we just clarified, the function, the properties of the same class will be executed by default. I guess there shouldn't be any confusions. That means the display function will be executed, of course, from the child class. That is first priority. That is a rule. All right. That is a by default setting. Okay. So in case if we write something like this, the display function of the child class will be executed and we will be getting P. Okay. In specifically, if we want, of course, there are some situations if you want to execute the display function of M, if you want to execute the display function of N, we have one option, we have one provision, and the provision is this operator, that is scope resolution operator. Fine. Using that operator, you can link the object to a specific class and a specific function. That is how it is going to be done. Object will be linked to class M and the display function of the same class will be executed. That means we are talking about the display function of M. Another instance, in this case, we have linked the object to class N and the display of N will be executed. So there is no confusions. Alright, but let me give you one particular hint where exactly will be the confusion. In case, see everyone, if the coding is like this, there will be no errors, no confusions, and the compiler will give you smooth outputs because everything is clear, everything is specified, and everything is as per the law. But if we make some, some typing mistakes or something skips out of the mind, then there will be the problem. For example, in case if we do not have display in the child class, forget about the display function in the child class P doesn't have display now, not anymore. Okay, now only display copies of 2 classes are there, one from the M, one from the N, only 2 displays. Okay, another thing, if we intentionally or unintentionally remove this part, now there will be the problem, now there will be the error. Fine. Okay, if this is the code you try to execute, what you get, there is an error. Why the error? Because you are using, everyone just take a look at the diagram, you are using the object of class P, child class object. Now child class object is having access to display function of both the classes. Let me first make a change in the list as well. Fine, as per the list, this is going to be the change. Okay, now what will be the confusing part? Child class object is having 2 copies of display function with the same priority. It doesn't know which one to be executed. In that condition, the compiler will generate an error. Otherwise, everything is fine. If you do not specify, then there will be error. Otherwise, everything is alright. So everyone, this particular part, this kind of situations, fine, that is normally referred as ambiguity. Alright, that is referred as ambiguity. Alright, now I have already given you the solution. Using scope resolution operators, you can really solve the ambiguity. And the solution, okay, that is ambiguity resolution. So how do you resolve that? You can write something like this. So now we have specified display of M should be executed. Now we have specified display of n should be executed. So scope resolution operator is basically the resolution of ambiguity. So that is the condition of ambiguity resolution. Hopefully everything is very clear to you, and if there are any doubts, any confusions, any queries, just let me know. Okay, I'll be happy.